This is Tim Albright with AVNation and ISE 2017 at the SDVoE booth. My buddy Justin Kennington. How are you, sir?
Good, Tim. How are you doing?
Doing well.
It's an exciting show so far.
You said that like you mean it.
Well, it has been. We had the very first training put on by the SDVoE Alliance yesterday.
Nice.
We had 120 slots for registration over 3 course periods, and we had about 200 attendees.
Good night.
It was standing room only and people in the hall outside the classroom listening in.
Holy cow, dude, that's awesome.
I was impressed.
Okay, so briefly, if they couldn't get in for whatever reason, and they couldn't take the tiles off the roof and drop in, or they're not here.
It's like they didn't try.
Exactly. What did they miss? What exactly were you training folks?
So the software-defined Video over Ethernet Alliance is about 2 core principles. Number 1 is that it is now possible to distribute AV signals over IP networks without the kinds of compromises that used to be required, without compression artifacts, without latency. But even more important than that is the idea that now that that's possible, we're freed from a world where hardware and connectivity and infrastructure are what define our applications, and instead software can directly and purely define the application for the end user.
Okay, that was very, very nice, very good, but a little over my head.
Okay.
So bring it down to my level.
We got a bunch of boxes, and these boxes have a lot of video and audio processing horsepower inside them. They can move 4K 60 444 HDR.
Yep.
They can scale, they can downmix, they can make video walls, they can make multi-view images. But what's important is that riding on top of this whole thing is an application programming interface, is a software platform that makes it easy for programmers, manufacturers to get hold of this distributed processing power and turn it into applications. So now the software says, hey, today you're a video wall, and now that user gets to enjoy a video wall. Hey, over here I've got a 4x5 matrix switch with fast switching and HDR capabilities. And okay, now that's what that is. And then tomorrow, nope, that's a 4-input multi-viewer.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is instead of so much specialized hardware, I need a scaler, I need a multi-viewer, I need a window processor, we just distribute the basic elements that we need, which is really a high-powered scaler and windower around the network, and give an easy way to control that. And now, software can define what is this thing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a step back even further to the founding of SDVoE, right?
How we got here, right?
Well, how you got here, and the number of folks that are coming alongside you. This is not Joe Bob's, projector manufacturer.
Have you met Joe Bob Christie?
I have. Joe Bob is a
nice
fun guy.
fellow.
Yes. But you've got Sony, and you've got Christie, and you've got DVI Gear, and you've got a number of other folks who've come alongside you to help you with that, and honestly, give you a little bit more oomph.
I hope so.
So how did that all take place?
Well, the key for us, and we've launched here at ISE with 14 members, many of whom are manufacturers of signal distribution products with SDVoE products already available on the market. But what's even more interesting is that many of them are not in that space yet. And instead what we have is a complete ecosystem.
Okay.
Our founding membership, you mentioned a couple of them. We've got Aptovision and Aquantia, who are sort of core technology and chipset providers. We have Christie Digital and Sony, obviously major high-end display manufacturers and big players in Pro AV already. But then we have Netgear, right? Where did this come from? They're from outside the AV world. They're from the IT space.
Well, not anymore, they're not.
Exactly. What they see here is an opportunity, a sort of untapped market for their high-performance 10-gig switches, a new place to drive demand and to show their products' capabilities. And then finally we have ZV, who are a manufacturer of signal distribution equipment, and really sort of the leaders at the forefront of SDVoE. They're actually at the show here shipping their 3rd generation of what is now SDVoE technology. Like, they were SDVoE before SDVoE was cool.
Yeah. All right. So one quick thing, and the reason I'm going to ask you this question is because it's really predominant at this show, especially. It feels like a lot of folks have gotten into video over IP.
Sure.
And they're all saying, 10 gig is great, 10 gig is awesome. which is what SDVoE runs on, but nobody has it, right? It's so let's all go down to 1 gig as a common denominator. Yeah. So why is that not a good idea?
First of all, I don't even think it's true that people only have 1 gig.
Well, some people just have 1 gig.
Look, there's a lot of it out there. No,
yes.
There's no question about that. But in fact, Netgear showed me some research in the small and medium-sized business segment. Fully 33% of those companies already have 10 gig infrastructure, and 70% of them are planning it in 2017. So
30% have it, 70% are planning.
This year.
So does that mean 100% by the end of the year will have it?
No. I mean, 70% of businesses will have it.
Okay.
Will have it by the end of 2017. That's without having a conversation about AV. This is about the infrastructure that they're moving to on their own, which is sort of the argument, right? Oh, well, they only have 1 gig, so we have to supply 1 gig. And I don't think that's right. I think, how do I say this delicately, but too often the AV industry wants to sort of follow, right?
Okay.
It's very difficult to lead, and they say, oh no, I'm worried that somebody might not have 10 gig, that somebody might not want to upgrade to 10 gig. I'm just gonna build an old compromised solution based on what they have, and what's going to happen is, again, we're going to be behind. This is what happened in the analog to digital transition, right? So many companies in this room said, oh, well, digital's too hard, our customers don't already have digital, we're just going to stick with analog and keep going with that. And then one day, an AV guy walked into the CTO's office to explain this, and the CTO said, what do you mean I can't have a Blu-ray player in my conference room? I've got one at home. And it was the end users who drove this. And what we're trying to enable is to educate the AV industry to understand that 10G is affordable, that 10G is already deployed, and that we have a great way to take advantage of it. I'll give an example. This Netgear switch in our member gallery here, 16 ports of 10 gig Ethernet, and you can go buy it on Amazon.com for $1,500. Right? Now imagine if you're an actual distributor or actual integrator making real purchases here. I'm talking with free Prime delivery. It's under $100 a port. So there's really no excuse to say I need 1 gig, because aside from the fact that 10 gig is affordable, much more affordable than HD-based T, for example, all those 1 gig solutions are fundamentally compromised. I don't care what anyone on this show floor says to you. If you are compressing something by more than 12 to 1, which is what you're doing when you take 4K 60 444,
which starts at 18 gig. Yeah.
I'll be fair. I'll say, you know what? That's only 12 gigs of raw data. A lot of the rest of that is HDMI overhead.
Okay.
So I'm talking SDI data rates.
So it's 12
It's at least 12 gigs, and you've got to get it down to at most 1 gig. That's 12 to 1, right? Yeah. And probably more than that, because it's really 18, and I really want it to be 800. The point is, we're talking 12, 15, 20 to 1 compression. It is impossible to do that with no latency. If someone says they can do that with no latency, they are lying to you.
A manufacturer would never lie.
I wouldn't think so. No, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if someone were to say that to you. But we don't have to live with those compromises. We don't have to live with image artifacts, compression artifacts, with latency, because we can spend more bandwidth. Look, when we're talking...
Because you have the bandwidth because of the move to 10 gig as well.
We do, but you know what? Even bigger than the node we're at right now, right? Anytime you're talking about moving video around, there's 3 things you have to consider and trade off. There's video quality, there's bandwidth, and there's latency, right? And it's sort of pick 2. So any kind of video we can think of, it doesn't have to be IP. I think of HD-based T as perfect image quality, 0 latency, and sort of infinite bandwidth, right? Because it's one dedicated cable.
Yeah.
So you could put any IP codec somewhere on that continuum, but you're making some sort of trade-off. H.264, great technology. You can have pretty good image quality. You can have very low bandwidth, but you pay for it in latency, right? You take some, give some. The choice that we've made with SDVoE is to look at this trade-off, look at the market, and say, look, there will always be demand for ultimate video quality. There are some applications where you can't give it up, and you know what? That problem is getting worse. Here we are today showing off 12-bit 422 4K 60 HDR. Tomorrow it's going to be 8K and 16K and 16-bit video. I don't know. Image quality goes up, right? Yeah. Latency, there are so many applications where latency is intolerable. Simple stuff, like if you're moving a mouse, the pointer has to be with you.
Yes.
It can't be 50 or 100 milliseconds behind. Latency is, I say, that's your life ticking away 50 milliseconds at a time. We can't give that up.
Yeah.
That leaves bandwidth. What's special about bandwidth? It's cheap and getting cheaper. So wherever we are today with 1 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig is the next thing. I can tell you that whatever 10 gigs costs today, it's going to be cheaper tomorrow. It's going to be cheaper the next day. And that's not going to be true about video quality and latency.
All right, very good. If somebody's interested in getting training from SDVoE or finding out more about how to start incorporating that into their systems, how do they do that?
Check out the website, www.sdvoe.org. That'll show you our membership list. You have products that you can buy. It will introduce you to our training program. The next stop for which is a series of webinars. We're beginning on March the 8th.
Very good. All right, very good. Justin Ginnington from SDVoE. I'm
Thanks,
Tim
Tim.
Albright from AVNation. For more information about us, go to avnation.tv.